Somebody come in and he duck back in the alley, oh baby. Yes, baby. Ooh, baby. Having me some fun tonight. Yeah.
Something out there waiting for us. And it ain't no land.
In the hottest years this happens. This year it grows hot. We couldn't find another man. We found them sometimes without their skin. Sometimes much bruised. El que hace trofeos de los hombres es the demon who makes trophies of man.
Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is JonesCat79, aka Chris, joined by my usual co-host Derica, aka Dark Neon.
The hunt is live, everyone. We are live tonight.
Yes,
How are you doing here?
we're gonna have me some fun tonight. So, this is what we were talking about as our follow-up to the Alien Earth and Alien Malian event. We're doing a Predator Hunting Party, where the name itself was actually a complete fluke because she had thought of a name, I thought of a name, and we thought, oh, we already had a name, right? And then we said, we're calling it this, right? And we're like, yeah. And then I was going to call this whole event Predatober to go with Malian. And she was under the impression Predator Badlands came out in the middle of October instead of like mid-November, like it's going to be. So we thought we're kind of cutting it close with Alien Earth ending in early October, and then not, Mortal Kombat and all that stuff. But Mortal Kombat's moved, so Predator will be our primary focus.
Yep. But I swear it's so weird. I swear you came up with the name Hunting Party. I thought, dude, that's like gotta be the catchiest name. And I like bragged to like my friends saying like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this thing. It's gonna call it Hunting Party. Like my friend, Miss Bro just came up with the name, and then when we were getting set up while we were just watching
Emma,
the first movie,
what do we call it again?
It's like, wait, what? Like, wait, you didn't come up with the name?
I thought that was you. Like we were both pointing at each other. Like I thought you could do it anyway, but it fits. In fact, it has the same.
They're basically telling me that I came up with a title that I thought you came up with. It's somewhere. I don't know where it came from.
Out of curiosity, that shirt. I mean, it's not on camera, but that shirt you're having on right now, is that?
It's the Gill Man.
Oh, right, yeah.
The creature of the Black Lagoon.
But it does kind of fit. Primordial jungle setting menaced by a creature of inhuman origin. That does kind of gesture what we're going on. I actually have a Predator shot on right now. Actually, it's under there, but yeah, it's that same one, the hunting season one that was gifted to me because my brother knows I like Predator. In fact, Predator, I'm called the AVP fanboy for a reason, and the half of that AVP is the Predator, which I've already gone into long. I have a whole stream from years ago where we talked about just the Predator franchise in general, but we're gonna go more sinking our teeth into it. But first, the origins of this whole thing kind of goes back even before the idea of pitting an extraterrestrial intergalactic hunter against the deadliest warriors on Earth, wouldn't you say?
Yes, so there's a story that pretty much any trope follower can put on and go, oh yeah, I know that. So basically, the story is the most dangerous game, where the premise is that there is a hunter character who has hunted the best. He, she, they, whatever, have literally hunted all the finest beasts there are in the animal kingdom, and yet they still find there's no challenge, there's no thrill, there's nothing that they feel like they kind of like hitting like a roadblock with like premeditative instincts and survival instincts, and so they think, well, what's the next? What's the dangerous predator that's topped them off that I can kill? And of course they think, well, of course, humanity. So basically, it's a game of like picking out some human beings and put them out into the jungle and pretty much hunting them down for sport.
Yeah, so this even goes.
And
Go on.
it's an idea that kind of pops up from time to time, gets redone, or even characters in pop culture, if I remember, have been created from that. Like Spider-Man's Kraven the Hunter, who pretty much dominated most recently in not counting the movie, the Marvel Spider-Man 2 Insomniac game, which really pushed that most dangerous game concept to its ultimate limit, I feel.
Yeah, and it goes back to even great writers like Hemingway, who was a hunter aficionado himself. And you're going to hear me bring this up when we talk about a movie later in the franchise. But the famous quote is, "There is no hunting like the hunting of a man. And those who have hunted armed men long enough and liked it never care for anything else thereafter." Quoted by Ernest Hemingway. And I guess that's the idea of, we've tamed the elements, we've tamed nature, but the one thing that'll always be hard to keep down is something like you, like a man. So what happens if you run into something that is more than a man that hunts you? Then that ends up, picking it up another notch, because getting stalked, hunted by another person is one thing. I mean, that's why serial killers and movie monsters, those guys, that's why it always gets us to our core. But to have something that is smarter than you, sees you no different than how you see quail or a deer, and we see them as inferior animals. Think of something else above that. That's another level of horror. And I don't think the Predator is the first like major exploration of something otherworldly, finding pleasure in hunting man, but it's definitely the one that comes to mind when you think of Space Hunter. I think that's why we also like bounty hunters and stuff like that, because the idea of you're hunting something that's smart and you gotta outsmart it. I think that's why we like guys like the Mandalorian, a dog, all those guys.
And speaking of properties that were like born in the 80s, of course the 1980s was kind of like a really good big melting pot for ideas and concepts and fresh. It was basically like a renaissance of creative ideas that flourish even to this day. It was basically categorized by like three things: it's a decade of uh, new age sci-fi, uh, new, different, bolder monsters, and of course it was the spark and rise of the action hero trope. And sometimes, if you're clever enough, you can combine all three of them.
Mm-hmm. And that was a funny thing. You would get like stories that are like retellings of, monsters of yore. Like when they did Monster Squad, which was kind of like a updated reimagining of the Universal monsters, like the Wolfman, the Creature, Dracula, and making them have that edge because people have become much more supposedly more sophisticated after the experimental film age of the 70s and stuff. So, I mean, barely getting into the 80s was stuff like Alien that would took like the old haunted house story and put it in outer space with a creature that is, can't be explained. That's kind of the melting pot of ideas you would see and stuff. You would get stuff that was satirical and comical, but also still kind of hard edge, like They Live, or something that would really talk about the paranoia and mistrust of another, made literal flesh by an otherworldly being, like the Thing from another world, the Thing. It's
John
even
Carpenter's thing.
yeah, even like stuff that was considered kitschy, cliche stuff in the past, like the Blob from the Steve McQueen era, was reimagined as a horrifying eldritch amoeba that you do not want to get on you. So, like I'm saying, in the 80s, there seemed to be this uptick of upping the ante of, of the monsters have to look more real. That's why you get a golden era of practical effects in the 80s. The heroes
Your Stan Winston's, your Tom Savini's, and then where Jonesy was going to bring up, the new heroes.
your heroes had to be a lot more hard edge, but also kind of they got to be vulnerable, but they also kind of got to wear their heart away in a box. They gotta. Sometimes they'll say a kitschy one-liner, but it's not like the jokey era of the '60s and '70s, like Bond and stuff. It's more, I don't know. It's cool. Things were cool, and you had stars personifying this cool persona. Your Van Dammes, your Stallones, and the guy who's the
Bruce
big,
Campbell's.
and the guy who's the headliner of this, Schwarzenegger. And who would have thought that a guy who barely spoke much English, who starred in a what probably considered a trash film like Hercules, Reborn, would go on to become an icon, someone where even though his accent was initially parodied, it became something that people lovingly satirize now. I mean, you've already heard how he can't say even to this day like stuff like State Farm using his hard time saying names as like good neighbor is there. No, it's neighbor. That's what I said. Neighbor, which is like this movie's famous for go get to the chop ba. So anyway, yeah, like it says, the heroes have changed. The monsters have become much more elaborate, and 80s was excess. Everyone was on a high because markets were going up, technology was going great, Cold Wars were starting to cool down. If everyone felt like they were at the top of the world, and then of course '90s people would.
On the flip side, there was still also some edge and paranoia that we might not live to see another day. So basically, you thought, well, might as well just go out with a bang.
Uh-huh. So anyway, all this preamble to say that it was rife. Studios were rife to capitalize and experiment on these things, even taking task on, giving a task to people you probably wouldn't dream of doing it years ago. This Canadian guy who worked for Roger Corman ended up writing a script for a sequel to one of their big movies, and they even told him, look, we're going to wait for you to shoot your little time travel love romance story before you can write the follow-up to Ridley Scott's Alien. And that guy happened to be named Jim Cameron, who is now the king of the world of, no one makes movies like him. I kind of bringing him up because I just saw Avatar The Way of Water, which is re-released, which is why this review is happening today. And I originally planned for it Friday, but that happened. But anyway, I say that they gave that task to him out of nowhere, and they were willing to take a chance on him, and that was Fox. And Fox, again, was willing to take a chance with a spec script that was given to a producer, Joel Silver, who showed it to John Davis, a guy who we're going to be hearing a lot about this whole run through. And the spec script was I think it started off as a joke after watching Rocky fight the Russian in Rocky 4, and he says, well, Rocky's already fought the tougher version of the guy he's beat before. He's beat the champ. He's beaten the rogue. He's beaten the Russian. Well, what's next? Is Rocky going to box E.T.? Was an offhand joke, and then they thought, there's an idea there, of something from outer space mixed with that raw edge, commando style action. So they wrote this script called Hunter. This was John and Jim Thomas, I believe, and they wrote this spec script, and they there was no emails, there was no meetings. They just took copies of their script and just put them under doors and hoped that a producer would read it and say, hey, we got something here. So, yeah, the concept of Hunter, which became, the Hunt, which became Hunter, which then became Predator, is that, you got this team of commandos going into the wildlands, and are suddenly being picked off one by one by an intergalactic hunter who sees them as nothing more but game. And this creature went through many iterations. One of its initial concepts was like a redneck bulldog alien with a pickup truck for a spaceship. I'm not kidding. There were so many iterations, but that was the idea, that we had this thing that would, hunt. It was never described in the script to be a defined thing. Hell, at one point it was a shape-shifting being. At another point, it just took on the images of its surrounding, rendering it invisible. And I read another version that said the Predator wasn't so much hunting because he got a thrill out of it. He was actually a scientist, and all of his studies to vivisect and get the thing required him to kill it. So he was picking him off like a hunter, but in reality he was more of a curious explorer than a big game hunter. That was one of the other variations of the Predator I heard about.
Uh-huh. And also they decided to put it set it in Central America because that was kind of like a at that point it was kind of more active in spec ops or the type of commando groups that we would be following in the movie.
And on top of that, you would also have like there was still the drug wars going on, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was a dynamic setting. Jungles are very primal. So in the end, the final premise of Predator got finally hooked around to a group of rescuers, a special elite team, are sent behind enemy lines to go and rescue some hostages from a guerrilla camp, and during the process of showing off their stuff, end up catching the attention of something else that lives in the jungle, something otherworldly, something that hasn't
Human.
never been seen before, but it could see the heat of our bodies and the heat of our fear as the advertising going. So, but the other taglines for this movie was "They picked the wrong man to hunt," and because the guy that was in front and center of every poster was Arnold Schwarzenegger. But yeah, so the idea is that these guys are the toughest of the tough. You see these guys in action, you're going, wow, this is like G.I. Joe. But what if your favorite G.I. Joe started getting picked off left and right in front of you? Actually, I'm surprised that G.I. Joe. Oh, then again, Transformers the movie traumatized people around the same time too. So you figure when they did the G.I. Joe movie, don't worry, we're actually not going to kill off your favorite Joes. But in this movie will like you're thinking, oh, I like that guy. I hope he makes it out, and oh my God, there goes his spine. Yeah, that's kind of the fun of this movie. But anyway, yeah. So they got cast and crew together for I think it was 16 mil. It was a budget that you couldn't even make the catering budget of today for stuff. God, I keep bringing up catering budgets because of that stupid "It's a Random Guy" parody. You keep sending me when we were in the Fantastic Four setup. But anyway, yeah, the thing is that they were off to the races, and it was a grueling shoot. It's the jungle, but you got some of the toughest bodies imaginable on the big screen. Guys who become legends in some eyes. You got Apollo Creed himself from Rocky, going back to the Rocky connection. You got Bill Duke, who was a standout in Commando. It was just, we're gonna get into the cast in more detail, but I'm saying is you got these guys where they give you enough time that if you were channel surfing, you missed the intro that there was a spaceship. You probably would have been like, "Oh, cool! This is some neat, a Kari Warrior Commando type, actioner. Let's watch it." And then it goes from an action movie, and Deadpool say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did you know this was an action story? No, it's a horror movie."
Horror story.
Yeah. So okay, let's go ahead and break it down. Our quarry. So our quarry, we start off with the man on the poster. Literally, the first thing people quote and think of from this movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger as Major Dutch Schaefer, the spec ops specialist, and chewer of cigars.
It's basically you might as well just take the character from Commando, change a few names, and just basically put him into Central America.
Now, I will say one thing about this movie. This was actually one of Arnold's first big roles after Terminator, where he really lit the world on fire by Terminator by showing him he's more than just muscles and loincloth like Conan and Hercules. So, but this time, he actually got to say more, because if you know, famously in Terminator, because of his accent and stuff, they didn't give him a lot of heady dialogue. But here, he got to talk more. I mean, Commando really let him show that he can be funny. Remember when I promised to kill you last, I lied, stuff like that. It shows you he can be very quippy, but also very, cool. But so
Also very caring and devoted, because it was his daughter that you had to save.
Yeah, so this was really a chance for him to show off more of that thing. But you got to see Arnold in a new mode you haven't really seen him before in other roles. Nervous and scared, because I keep watching this movie and I keep telling her that I think this movie has some of the best Arnold Schwarzenegger face acting. So he'll looking stern and serious. Someone will notice something and then they'll say something, and you just see it crawl over his face. He's realizing, oh shit. And he's the toughest guy, so to see the toughest guy you like being in nervous positioning, you start to feel nervous by extension. That was the genius of getting a guy like him and directing him in a way with organic storytelling, because John McTiernan is really good at doing that, they said. And it shows that I really think Arnold, when he gets stripped down to his basis stuff, no hot toys, no squad or nothing, he really has to get into something primal, which leads to, like, we'll get to the showdown. But he gets to go through all sorts of things. He gets to be funny and quippy. I mean, stick around, knock knock. He gets to be a commander, telling people like full spread. He does all this cool stuff where you go, yeah, I'd buy him as a leader for these guys. And then you get to see him be like scared shitless at points where you're going like, is he even going to make it? So I think this was a good chance for Arnold to really like show off more of his stuff, that he's more than just you know, the guy who lifts stuff. Like
Yeah, exactly, and especially since it's basically like in most of the posters and imaging for this movie, you always see him like front and center, like holding a gun, badass. But it deters from the fact that he really is, he's letting his mind think, because he's not just a high ranked soldier. He's not. There's a reason why he was personally picked from the character we'll get to very soon. But it's that he's not only a tough bastard, he's a clever bastard. He's very insightful. He's like able to be quick on his toes and very quick to respond to a changing element. Like I don't think any of his training ever prepped him to have to deal with like a being from another world, or this supposed demon, as one of the native hostages brings up, calling it. But even then, he's still like getting his ass handed to him. At the same time, he's able to not be like freaked out and deterred to uh, give up a good fight for that.
yeah, and then also, um, I think if it's not Terminator, if you're quoting lines from Arnold, they tend to be quoted from this movie. I noticed. And he has a lot of great quotes from every movie he's done. Like you could probably remember Running Man,
Total Recall.
Jingle All the Way. But no, when it comes to Arnold lines, I mean, especially the famous line when we get to the very end. There's one line that sticks out in it for everybody's mind that he says, because his accent makes it work. Even Shane Black, when they were doing a gag reel where they have to say the line, he says, "You got to do the accent with it." He said. So, but yeah, I think he works well with his squad mates too. And it's funny, he did admit it did get competitive behind the scenes. There's a funny joke where he mentions that he had Wardrobe measure his arms smaller so that Jesse Ventura can see his arm measure and go, "Holy shit, I'm much more bigger than Mr. Olympia himself, man." And then I told him, like, I heard he said that, and I thought my joke worked. So I told him, like, hey, you want to go ahead and compare arm sizes? Winner has to buy the other bottle of champagne. So then his arm was 2 times bigger, he said. So there were some laughs behind the set, despite how, it was a difficult shoot. It was hot. There was bugs. It was. There's not.
Not to mention that Arnold himself opted to bring in actual workout material into Mexico to get them pumped up and have them kind of work behind the scenes. Like,
Even the
nobody
producer.
in this film, nobody in this film is faking their muscles. Those are raw, like pre-built, on the spot, very toned. Okay, get a hand on yourself, girl. Okay, but yeah, it's all like all natural, to put it very bluntly.
But yeah, so it's so funny that but Arnold also brought his professional work ethic, and when they ran into trouble with the production at one point because of the creature effects, he was the guy who suggested bringing in Stan Winston, which we'll get to later. So Arnold was a big asset not only to the success of this film on screen, but he helped behind the screen, and he also made producer John Davis's life a living hell with training with like, "Come on, are you a gully man? Come, keep running, keep running." And the guy said, "I was in so much pain by the end of the day," and he told me, "We got to go run back." So it's like, yeah. So, but just as his big personality, and just as big a personality as our next guy, the one who gives him the assignment, an old colleague of his named Dylan, the son of a bitch,
Son of a bitch.
played by Carl Weathers, the late great Carl Weathers, may he rest in peace. My gosh! And if it's not Apollo Creed, if it's not Chubbs that you think of, you're probably going to be thinking of Dylan from Predator. In fact, they even made a joke of it in Mad TV when he played himself for a skit. Or it was there Saturday Night Live on Matt TV where he's running a campaign and his slogan was Carl Weathers. He was the black guy from Predator. But yeah,
It's just funny considering that there's actually more than one.
yes, Bill Duke. But it's so funny though. That, actually, that's another. We'll get into that. But it's funny how 3 of the guys who started this movie went on to become politicians. Jesse Ventura became governor of Minnesota. Arnold famously became governor of California. And even, I think, Sonny Landham, Billy, got to be a governor. Or he ran but lost. But point is, 3 of the guys from this movie went on to go into politics. Carl
They
Weathers.
didn't suck at it.
Yeah. So Carl
Well,
Weathers.
compared to other beings.
Yeah. So Carl Weathers, he is, you know, he plays someone that you can tell he has history with Dutch. I mean, that famous meme hand shake that they do is legendary for a reason, and you could tell that the guys that they have a trust, a mutual respect, which kind of gets rendered when they find out that the mission that they sent was bought out of a Cracker Jack box for them, just to get them to mop up a operation that was pretty bad. So Dylan,
Especially since that Dutch came out and said like I don't do assassination runs,
I'm
which
just rescue
if you
team.
squint into their head is basically uh what it was.
hmm So yeah, so the idea about Dylan is he told him that I'm gonna go with you on this mission to pick up some cabinet ministers that are very important that we can't let them get squeezed. And we start seeing evidence that stuff is happening. There was a surveillance spy bird, not an air taxi. There was the fact that other men were sent. A unit from Fort Bragg was sent ahead of them, which meant a grisly end. And like you said, even Dylan kind of lets off like, I have no idea. Maybe this was a rebel patrol. Maybe there's something going on through here. And when Dutch goes, somebody sent them. You're like, Dylan's thinking, oh shit. And he's not that good at sneak ops because when he almost like gives away their position, Bill Duke gives him a whisper telling him that if he gives away their position one more time, he'll bleed him real quiet. Like, because out in the jungle, anything goes. So even though he's like a top big wig CIA guy, because he say he got a tie and everything. The crew don't respect him. Hell, when they're getting ready in the helicopter, one of them even goes as far as to spit his tobacco at Dylan's boot, like thinking, you think you're tough shit, but man, you nothing.
I noted to Jonesy, I think they were like probably giving him a light haze of like don't expect us to treat you special favors just because you're higher up. But I'm willing to admit that I think they might have like would have been able to be open up to him mostly due to Dutch's history with them because they trust Dutch specifically, and if like Dutch says like this guy knows how to handle himself, then they'll be like, okay, well we might as well see what we got. But once the coin flips and proves that the whole mission was just a bunch of bullshit, yeah, they start to really like just give him the shits.
Yeah, like when like you tell him like maybe put on at least agent man. They start giving him the side eye more often when they find out that he was just the spec ops guy. So yeah, but what's funny is that even though he does do a crappy move by giving him a bullshit story to go in and everything like that, you kind of help I feel for the guy because he kind of gets it's personal for him because when they find the skin bodies of a previous when one of the hostages is shot in the head and the other one he mentions that it was his own men that were in that chopper that got taken down and he ordered another guy to go get him and he disappeared. Yeah.
One of them, which Dutch points out he's very familiar with, Hopper, which surprises him is like someone got the jump on Hopper.
Mm-hmm.
Either Hopper got really sloppy, which I find completely dubious, or someone really, really overwhelmed him.
And to get him an idea, he's a Green Beret from Fort Bragg. Rambo, in his universe, was trained at Fort Bragg. So you got a Rambo type guy getting taken out by something what they thought was a bunch of, savage, Central American guerrillas. And they find out later that, oh no, that this guy was taken out bad. So we'll get to that. But so Dylan, the whole mission was personal for him. And hell, I can't help but laugh when Dutch is suspecting that when Bill Duke tells him that there's a bunch of Russian guys with Russian equipment that they just took out, and the other guys that they were sent to rescue were coincidentally dead. He starts putting things together. So when Dylan comes in and starts taking all the stuff and says, "We hit the jackpot. This is everything we thought we'd ever get," and he's thinking, "Son of a bitch." He just has his look on his.
I think that's what you're looking for. Yes, yes.
So the whole that.
Bullshit, all of it.
Yeah. So it was just great that you see that he tries to sell off this whole it comes with the job I can accept being because you guys are expendable assets I used you, that was it. And then later when he said the helicopter won't pick him up and you go like we're expendable, he said so. It comes with the job I can accept it. No bullshit, you're just like the rest of it. The point is you see that he's losing control of the situation the more it happens, and the more of them get picked off he kind of starts like it starts realizing that this is getting personal for him. So Like when one of them runs off to go after her for revenge after the hunter and everything like that. There's a part where Dylan decides to go after him and he goes, "Get your people out of here. I'll go get him." And he goes, "That's not your style, Dylan. Maybe I'm picking up some bad habits from you now. Get your people out of here." So but again, Carl Weathers has such personality. You love him from Rocky and everything at that point. So I mean, hell, I think he just died to Ivan Drago 2 years prior, and that sucked to see. So seeing him as another big action star again was great. And there's a great moment where he starts like doubting Dutch's prowess when they realize that this creature can mess with their traditional claymores and stuff. And maybe if they made some Boy Scout, weave traps and everything like that, maybe that can get the jump on it. Even you really think this Boy Scout bullshit's gonna work? These are tripwires. Maybe you can't see this. Maybe instead of complaining, you should help out. And there's a part where you see them all pulling, and that's when you can see Carl Weathers work out too. And if you look at the documentary and the DVD, he even mentions how the guys would like to work out in the morning, and everyone's trying to get their pump in, but they want to do it in secret. You don't want to see people getting your pump up. He said like, so I would see some guys are doing stuff in the corner, and I'd be like, hey, yeah, and then I wait for them to eventually go so that I can start working out. Because you gotta think walking in, oh, he just wakes up like this every day. So Carl Weathers was like having fun on the set, trying to show like, look, you're a specimen. You gotta like look like that all the time.
And not only that, but Carl is able to deliver to give us a person that you like really want to see, like Arnold just grill for doing such a bullshit tactic on, but at the same time, you don't want him to get like such a bad come up as like he ends up getting in the film. It's like once they have saying, "Oh man, I don't think the dude deserved that."
All right.
Definitely didn't want to go out like that.
Yeah, the trailer showed that, for crying out loud. Yeah, so then we got to meet the rest of Dutch's crew. We got Richard Chavez as Pancho, which poor Derica for the life of her.
I honestly couldn't remember what his name was. Like I knew we had Billy, we had Mac, we had Cooper and Hawkins, or as I basically just called him, like the vagina joke guy. But this one extra dude is like, oh yeah, this guy is like, I can't remember what happened to him.
Yeah, and Richard Chavez himself is a Vietnam vet, so he was able to get through combat training, and you can definitely tell that he has that Vietnam syndrome, because there's a part when he's in the jungle and he kind of looks up. So these guys all served in tours, and you can tell he has experience that I think he's one of Arnold's reliable guys, because he always asks him to take point, and then and he's the one that reports on stuff, and he's the one that tells him like, you remember Afghanistan? I'm trying to forget it, buddy. Come on. So I mean. Yeah, and he has a good back and forth with everybody else. Like, there's a famous interaction between him and Blaine, where he points out that Blaine got shot, and he's like, "Hit, man, you're bleeding." And he tells him back, "I ain't got time to bleed." "Oh yeah, you got time to duck?" And he just shoots the grenades in the air. So, but yeah, like this, and he's also kind of religious, because I notice he crosses himself a lot when he runs into something unsightly. Like when he ran into the Predator's handiwork, he goes, "Holy Mother of God," and. Also, he also double serves as an interpreter, because he's also Spanish, so he's able to talk with the native, with the indigenous who can only speak Spanish. And me, who kind of know a little bit of Spanish, can kind of understand what he's asking her too. Like, well, who did this? What happened earlier, women? What happened? That kind of stuff. So I kind of have a connection with him too. And
what she said.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So then we have just as indelible, probably more famous than Pancho, and we all remember Sonny Landham as Billy. One of the big tracker with Native American blood, who doesn't really smile much unless he's really like in a good jolly mood, and he has quite a laugh to go with it. But also when he starts freaking out, you pay attention, because they're asking like what's got him. He's the one that starts realizing there's something out there. Like he just. Because there's a part where after the whole mop up of the camp they attack, and he's laughing, finally laughs at it. I'm sure Hawkins is always trying to get him to laugh. When he finally does laugh, and he's the one that first starts noticing, what the? So he's always like feeling the presence of the predator, and it almost gives the predator a mystical quality, because it's like, it's kind of a stereotype to think the natives are more in tune spiritually, Native Americans. So the idea that you got your Indian guy being like, are they being hunted by a ghost because he can't see it, and it's doing stuff that. So when he actually admits openly to Pancho that he's scared, and Pancho's like, bullshit, you ain't afraid of no man. When he tells him there's something out there waiting for us, it ain't no man. You start going, oh, okay.
Oh
But
shit. But he is also probably more infamous of having like one of the most blue balls experience you could ever have for an action movie. Like we have built this guy up who's like kind of been this like serious guy has kind of got this vibe going on to sense the predator and is like just building up his badassness, and he decides like he's gonna hold this thing off and let everyone else get away further to closer to the chopper. Guess does this whole big thing where like he like marks himself with his own blade, new topless by the way, and then whoop, we cut away and we hear his bitch ass screaming off screen.
but yeah, well, he must have put a hell of a fight, given what happens to his remains later. But like the thing is though, you do a funny side fact that everybody probably knows by now that insurance wouldn't let them hire Sonny Landham unless they had a bodyguard. Now the bodyguard wasn't to protect him from other people. Oh no, the bodyguard was meant to hold him down because he was prone to getting into bar fights.
So basically, it was. Are you mean to tell me that they cut away purposely so that he didn't get too, into the fight to actually overwhelm our predator
I don't think
actor?
I don't think he would have been. Actually, at this point, I think it was still another person in the suit because I don't think he would have. They wouldn't have cut away if it was the other guy who was probably dwarf Sonny Landham. But yeah, what's funny is that there's some people who swear to this day when they grew up that they saw a cut of it somewhere in some foreign country where the predator actually appears before Billy, and some say they even remembered seeing a brief fight, a few blows before the scream, and no such footage exists as far as I know. But the fans have.
The Mandela effect strikes again.
All right then. So then, oh goodness. Anyway, so the next one, this guy I love just as much as Bill Duke as Mac, which everyone like. He even points out one time he went to a business meeting lunch and one of the guys recognized him and right away pointed to him, going, "Predator, you were in Predator." And then, like, in fact, that's what I kind of think of when I see him pop up and stuff too, because he appears in a lot of like Singleton films. He appeared in Menace to Society, stuff like that. You know, you done fucked up, right?
For Predator, working with Arnold in Commando.
The Green Beret that's gonna kick his big ass.
Fuck you, asshole.
Click.
Click. Fuck you, asshole.
But yeah, so Bill Duke, in fact, that's why Arnold recommended him because he had such a good professional time working with him, and he brings something extra to this movie because he has.
Oh, he has I think pretty much the best freak out moments encountering the predator, where he just shouts out "contact" and is just letting loose both his own gun and then picking up the freaking chain gun and just letting it run until it's like completely empty, and even then it's still running.
Yeah, and he is like I says, when you start seeing him lose it, you kind of feel bad for him because the squad was tight. He must have been brought up with Blaine, so when Blaine was taken out, he starts really taking it personally. And Bill Duke adds some subtlety to his performance when he's like doing the farewell procession, almost like his personal funeral for Blaine by drinking up some moonshine at him and the taste of home as he called it. He would like just the music and his performance in that, again, really great face acting. And he's also, like I said, that freak out's great, but he's also pretty good at being intimidating. Like when he tells off Dylan, saying that I'll bleed you really quiet and leave you here if you mess us up again. You know that's not a threat. That's a promise.
Especially since he was very close to just like doing it regardless. But it was just him just saving him from a tiny scorpion.
And remember Indiana Jones.
Remember Indiana Jones said, it's like,
The bigger the better.
Scorpion, the bigger better. Small one gets you. Don't keep it to yourself.
But yeah. So the idea that when he starts losing it. Go on.
Yeah, no. I was gonna talk about his death, but we need to talk about him losing it.
Yeah, when he starts, like, one thing that he helps with the tension. There's a great scene when they're trying to see if their trap will work, and he's just sitting there, shaving with no shaving cream in the jungle, and it gets to the point where catches himself, and he's pushing so hard the disposable blade breaks, and he looks a little bit like, oh well. But even Dylan's going like, Jesus, this guy. So when he thinks he has a shot to go after who had killed his best friend, first he has two encounters where he tries to kill it. One is where a distraction bore is in him, and he ends up stabbing the hell out of this pig, even though it probably broke his ribcage tackling into him. And then he tries to go after it again. And I hate to laugh every time it gets to his demise, because you want to root for him when he's telling Dylan, I see this thing, we're going to settle the score. You're going like, yeah, you go get him, Mac. And he's the guy he's become victim to one of my most favorite weapons of the Predator. The 3 dots show up on his arm. He's all like, what's this? And it's moving, making its way toward his head. And boom! Just... Mm-hmm.
It's like a fucking... That's basically like what we call a brutality whenever you pull it off for the Predator in Mortal Kombat X.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, though, it's one of my favorite moments. And he also does have an iconic catchphrase just as iconic as Arnold. Like when he catches a scorpion from Dylan and Dylan's all, thanks, he just goes back, anytime. And the Predator heard that, so the Predator started mimicking that. So after his body is discovered, the Predator still taunts Dylan with an anytime, which is awesome. In fact, one of the moves in Mortal Kombat X is called anytime. So that's Bill Duke's doing right there. And then, of course, then we got Jesse Ventura, the Bob Ventura, as Blaine Cooper, who... That guy is a mountain of a man. He's big, muscly. You think, damn, this guy's probably going to put up the most fight out of them all. So when he's the second one taken out, you're like, oh. Also, I just realized...
that sucks.
I just realized the order that you put this in is the reverse order of when they were eliminated in the movie. Was that intentional?
No, that was pretty much kind of like the order that they kind of mostly came up in the casting list on the Wikipedia. Let me just...
Because think about
Let's see. Tonto, Billy, Mac, Blaine, Rick. Yeah, that's pretty much the
although
order I did.
Okay, now it's almost exactly as they died, because technically Dylan should be right after Billy. Then it's Mac. Yeah.
Well, I felt Dylan was kind of like his own... He's like realm of personality.
In fact, it's true, because whenever you watch this on TV and they do the Predator starring people, it's usually either Arnold or Carl, who are the guys they mentioned. Predator starring Carl Weathers continues. Predator starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. One of those bumpers, yeah. So yeah, he's the other name. But I was noticing when you mentioned next. So we got Blaine. Is like I said, he's known for his bigger than life personality and also wielding a big ass gun called Old Painless, a Vulcan minigun. Which, again, whenever you see him fire it off, you can't help but feel fuck yeah whenever he does it.
Also, if I could, he's basically almost like... He's kind of like the embodiment of what you think toxic masculinity is, except you don't hate his guts for it.
I mean, come on.
That makes any goddamn sense.
One of his lines that I love, but you can't really quote it in polite society, is when he's trying to feed him tobacco, and he goes, "There's a bunch of slack-jawed F-words around here. This stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus, just like me." You can only quote the tyrannosaurus part. You can't really quote the beginning part, although it works with the line. And I don't want to say it, because I always feel a little icky saying the word, but you know the word.
I know the word.
It's
another word.
It's funny coming out of him, so I can't help but laugh when I hear it. And he really sells the connection between him and Mac. That when he's lost, you can see why Mac took it so hard. And like I said, but he does get some of the best, shots during the sneak up on the guerrilla camp, because there's a great moment where you can tell how tight him and Mac are, because he's about to take a step forward and set off a tripwire to a claymore, and Mac is the one that sets the claymore line and say, "Okay, you're clear to cut it," and it just they really do buy them as a unit. And he also does have a just as iconic line, "I ain't got time to bleed," and also even "Payback time" is such a great moment when they say, "Get Old Painless out of the bag." He pulls off the Vulcan cannon, cocks it, and goes, "Payback time," and you go, damn. if they had made Duke Nukem earlier in the '80s, I'm pretty sure if it is not Arnold to play him, they would have gotten someone like a Jesse Ventura to play him.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Even though technically, Duke Nukem was kind of mostly egging off Bruce Campbell, really.
True. But and then the last guy on the list, which is he was just brought on as a writer, and they said you want to star in it too, and that's Shane Black as Hawkins, aka the Pussy Guy jokes.
Which one of them it makes you kind of like to your head, it's like, well, that was a sloppy setup.
And the other
And
one
then
was
the other
actually
one is
funny.
like, it can't help actually chuckle because it's actually pretty well done.
Yeah, and he admitted, he said that when the character was written in the script, he had this big, bright baseball cap. And he's being a writer, he thought, well, that doesn't make sense. That's not tactically sound, so I got rid of it. But he realized that was the one thing that helped me stand out, so I ended up having to write the pussy jokes, he said. He admitted, but because his writer brain told him, why would this military guy be wearing this brightly ass colored, baseball cap in the. No, but that would have helped him stand out, he realized. But he also liked to read Sergeant Rock comics because at the time, I think Shane Black was writing a treatment for Sergeant Rock from DC. So when you would see Billy in the background, Hawkins in the background, he would be reading Sergeant Rock. Also, all you Stranger Things fans know that Predator has some naming conventions in that series. The town of Hawkins comes from this Hawkins. And the sheriff, of course, we all know the sheriff's name.
Hopper.
Jim Hopper, yeah. So, and he also does get the honor of being the first on-screen kill we see of the Predator.
I mean, technically, you could argue that Hopper and his squad were the first ones, but that was like the aftermath. We're talking in the moment where you actually see the Predator's camouflage working. Which, by the way, that one shot of him, the Predator, grabbing Hawkins' leg is actually one of the rare times you ever see Jean-Claude Van Damme in this movie.
Mm-hmm. But technically, since he's in effect, you can't see him. But yeah, because it was kept in the trailer. But yeah, so that's what he. I always knew Hawkins as the glasses guy. In fact, when I watch Transformers, I like to think that Finley, the Irish guy with the glasses, was meant to be
the guy that gets
Scorponok.
staked by Scorponok, right? The pretty much was I consider as like literally the best scene of that entire movie, like bar none.
I like to think that was them making a callback to Hawkins because oh my god, he was the first guy in Lennox's unit to get taken out. It's like, shit. I think that might have been an intentional play. He kind of looks like him too, if you notice. So I think that was the whole point in Transformers was to have
Well played there, Michael. Hey, man of culture. It looks like.
I think you might attribute that more to Roberto Orsi and Alex Kurtzman. I think Roberto Orsi did pass away recently. I think sadly. Or was it? Anyway, but yeah, like I said though, that's what Hawkins' claim to fame is. The pussy jokes have been the first guy to be taken out by the Predator, and eventually probably taking out his revenge on the Predator by making a movie in the series that people look side-eye at. But the guy did make one hell of a movie in Iron Man 3. I don't care what anyone else says. Mm-hmm.
Actually, upon retrospective, it is kind of like a... Well, to be fair, no one is ever going to try to say, oh, the 3 or 2 is better than 1. 1 is always the best, but I say that 3 is better than 2. 2 just kind of had that unfortunate after effect of like, oh, it's an Iron Man movie. Also, it's a Black Widow movie. Also, it's a S.H.I.E.L.D. movie. Also, it's a War Machine movie. How many? Whose movie is this again?
Yeah, but yeah, Shane Black does know how to write for Robert Downey. He did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Great movie. Val Kilmer's in that too. Rest in peace. All right, so then that's all of Dutch's group of badasses, and rounding out our human cast is Elpidia Carrillo as Anna. She was found at the guerrilla camp, and probably because she knows the local area, and one of the few people not blown away at that camp. So Dylan brings her along because she thinks she has information that could help them out, but he also thinks she's going to give us away if we keep her. So she's pretty much saddled with Dylan for the rest of the movie. But she's the one that tries to escape, and it's her escape attempt that leads to Hawkins getting taken out. So she's the one that's...
I was going to say, it's a funny thing to note is that the effect of her reacting to the blood spurt was very genuine. She did not realize that it was going to explode
On her
like
face,
that
exactly like that.
on her face like that. Which, huh? It kind of almost reminds me of Lambert's reaction back in the first Alien movie, where her reaction to the chest burster was so fucking genuine because she did not realize it was going to explode like that on her.
Well, the thing was that she knew it was going to pop out, but what happened was that during his struggles, John Hurt accidentally knocked a chestburster in her general direction, and that was when one of the blood spurts came out, and it shot straight at her face. So that's why she was like, because that wasn't supposed to happen. But
Weird thing to compare to. I don't know. Anyway,
but yeah, the so like she's really good because the whole time she's speaking in another language, which kind of makes it hard for the team to get a read on her. So when Arnold finally decides to
although that felt like it was probably like an act. She probably knew exactly because she was able to understand like their intentions, their reactions, and all that. So he must have suspected like she knows English.
so when she's the one that explains how she kept saying the jungle had come alive and killed Hawkins, which made them go like, okay, she's not making any sense at all. But okay, yeah, but as it
But
went
then
on,
they realized once Mac explained that I saw it, it's like the eyes like just went and disappeared. They started to put two and two and realized like, oh shit, this girl might actually have been telling the truth.
And later when she mentions how she's also the one that catches the blood from the predator on the leaves when she realizes it was wounded. So there's a part where she explains, I don't know what the thing was, but it has color changing like a chameleon that used the jungle to like surprise people, which Dylan writes off as, you think they were being killed by a bunch of fucking lizards?
Well, in one original version of the cut, it would have been.
Yeah.
But we decided to change it when Stan Winston came along.
Yeah. So she's the one that says that when Blaine died that their blood was on the leaves, so that gives Arnold the chance to say if it bleeds, we can kill it. So it is there that she's the one that tells him, she's the one that drops some lore. Like someone said, in a funny sort of way, this is kind of the USS Indianapolis speech from Jaws done for Predator, where she explains how when she was very, very little, they saw a guy get, looked like he was just eviscerated, butchered. And the women were saying that the Diablo, the demonio, had come for them. And she's the one that points out that, every time the hottest conflicts happen, just something comes and starts killing their men, leaving them without skins, taking some things from them. So she realizes that when they say the crazy things that are strange, the demon who makes trophies of man, that's when Arnold is putting it together that this shit has happened way before the Hopper thing, way before them getting there. Like, it gives them the idea that maybe they're not fighting a thing at all. Maybe they're fighting some supernatural apparition. So that probably gets them thinking, like, can we even kill this thing that we think we're trying to go after?
But since Anna pointed out that there was blood that emitted from it, maybe it's not like a supernatural thing. Maybe it might be otherworldly.
Yeah. So
but it's funny that that little speech still kind of gave the back door open to eventually we would discover that it's kind of hinted at a little bit in the second one, but then is given much bigger credence in the not so canon, kind of canon, but not really crossover with the Alien franchise, but definitely when we swing the door open when Disney gets the rights to Predator with movies like Prey and Killer of Killers.
Yes, the idea that the Predators have hunted for a very long time. So
speaking of, I guess it's time that we discuss the big bad motherfucker himself.
By the way, I know some people might say, she's the only lady in the movie. She kind of brings it down by not trying to fight or something. But the thing is, she tries to, but Arnold is like, he didn't kill you because you were domed.
No sport.
And how it should have ended. Well, wait a second. If this thing is trying to get us because we're not armed, why the hell are we carrying all these weapons for? God, you're right!
And then as funny as it is, I would point out, like, dude, he literally saw your aftermath of that freaking encampment back there. You don't think that he's going to find you threatening enough without the guns?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shit. The final climax of him is when you go against Arnold without guns.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah,
So basically, how it should have ended was, Arnold's words, sorry bullshit, all of it.
it's still a funny joke though. Me and my sister keep quoting the no thanks part from it. But yeah. So like I says though, but Anna, she does make it out to the end, and she's just as good. But I think that she's not on the same level as like say a Ripley or whatever, but she's just as iconic to the series. I mean, we will get our Ripley type in future iterations. I'll say that right now. So let's go ahead and talk about the big bad mother himself.
The Predator, as the movie calls it, although later we kind of question if that's even what they're called, because officially they're kind of called an alien species called the Yacha. But for the sake of the theming and the ethics of the way it hunts the top of the food chain, humanity like a predator hunts a prey, we basically just lovingly call it the Predator.
Yeah, actually, I myself still call it the Predator. Yes, I know it's been called the Yautja in some comic books. I know it's been called the Hishtek in some novels, and Mortal Kombat uses that. In fact, if you notice, Mortal Kombat, when it gives them fighting styles, one of the fighting styles is called Hishtek Teku, which is the other name for the Predator from the recent novels from the mid 2000s at that point. So, point is, they call him all that. They might even give him a new name in Bloodlands for all I know, or revive the Yautja name. But until then, like I said about the alien, until Alien Romulus shut my trap on that, I'm going to call this creature the Predator. Predator, like, even though...
Both Romulus and Alien Earth, you realize, well, shit, I guess, this one's not the only big bad alien in this universe. Guess they're just the Xenos.
Mm-hmm. So we have the Predator. Now, as everybody and their grandmother probably knows, I'm going to drop this backstory again. The fact that the Predator was called the Hunter, and it had a different design way back when. Originally, it was going to be portrayed by Jean-Claude Van Damme because they wanted to have something that could fight, something that was lithe and martial art, acrobatic. So they got one of the best, guys at the time. He wasn't told.
Unfortunately, they realized, oh shit, he's not even. He barely. He's almost dwarfed by our main cast.
On top of that,
granted, you could make a way for that to work out, but you really need to find a way to get your design work. And boy, howdy, does that thing, their initial design for it. I don't think you could buy that thing would kick Arnie's ass.
On top of that, he said that he wasn't told he was going to be in a mask most of the time. And his initial filming was in the suit needed for the special effect of the camo. So it was this green and blue screen would blend in with the greens and blues of the sky in the jungle. So they had to give him a big red suit, and he thought it looked like a fucking superhero in this thing. And he was covered in a mask too.
Which is funny considering that you'd basically be like a superhero-esque being in a Street Fighter movie, being Guile.
Well, he got to at least show his face. In this one, he's wearing this big, what looked like a red lobster. Okay, I'm actually going to try to pull up an image of this creature. Because as John McTiernan put up, the creature was delayed for a while. They kept telling us, don't worry, it's coming, it's coming. And when they finally got the crates and brought it up, I thought, uh-oh, we are in trouble now. So,
I mean, it's not a bad creature design per se, but again, you have to be smart to know it needs context, needs the right ambiance, and an ambiance where it's in the middle of a sort of an all-out war. This is supposed to be a one-man army that's going against guys with freaking Vulcan guns, for God's sakes.
But yeah, so it says this. At the beginning of production, Predator, Jean-Claude Van Damme was chosen for the role of the iconic alien creature Predator. And Van Damme was chosen for his physical fitness and his ability to perform unique stunts that would reflect the creature's nature. However, the original design of the creature was completely different from the final appearance, for the original costume was bulky and impractical. Plus, they built it at a jungle where everything was at an angle, and the thing walked on stilts, so there was no way this thing could walk properly because of the way it was built. They said maybe in a spaceship or an urban environment it could work, but in The jungle, like I kept saying that it had challenges for Van
That's
Damme. Yep.
especially since in universe, even the army guys say like the this is like the ass way of like getting through the jungle. Like I don't even go to take a shit that way.
Yep. I wouldn't waste out on a broke dick dog, as Billy put it. So I'm trying to put up an image, but okay, hold on. Actually, uh, yeah, but like it's so funny. Like this is, it looked more like a big insectoid dog than anything. So they said that, and also Van Damme was frustrated by the lack of screen time showing his face, and it did not meet the satisfaction of the production team, which had to redesign the character. So Van Damme withdrew from the project, or was replaced depending. But he admitted he does not like how the thing looked on him and how it felt. It was just uncomfortable. And like I said, I'm going to show you that some of it was filmed, but they thought after a day of using it, they're like, yeah, we cannot use this creature. So I'm going to pull up a window capture real quick.
Hmm.
Okay, and you guys should be able to see on screen right now. Here it is right there. See? There's Van Damme. And he's like wearing a freaking praying mantis over his face. And yeah, this thing does look imposing and cool, but I don't know if you would buy that as the ultimate hunter.
The predator.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like look at it. Can you see it? Let's see. Look at that.
Yeah, it would look cool if it was like in a different uh sci-fi movie, but definitely not one that involves a lot of action and gunfire.
But yeah, like it says, and in fact, you're gonna love this. This is probably what made Van Damme go fuck no when he was walking around in. Let's see if I could find the. There it is. Look at look at this. I'm gonna put full screen it.
I do have to wonder, do you think yeah, oh my god, especially with the whites, it looked like the freaking like fly eyes.
Yep. Yeah, like the here it is. Yeah, that like there it is right there. Look at this. Look at that. I think that's supposed to be the eyes that disappeared when Max. But yeah, you can see why Van Damme was a little like miffed that he had to be in that for hours at a time. Oh, cool! The original Red Predator showed up as a costume in The Predator. Huh. I gotta look out for that next time we watch it.
I was just gonna say, it's like, you think they ever reuse that creature design for like a off-brand comic where Predator is hunting something that's
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. Okay, let me turn this off. Because they actually did for NECA made their own figure for something called the Alpha Predator, which was like their first Predator, and the idea was that those creatures were the race that enslaved the primitive version of the Predators way back when, until one Predator rebelled and killed them, and used its armor as his first, used its bones and skin as its first armor, and he made the mask based off the skull of the thing. Let me see if I can look that up real quick too and send that to you.
isn't that's not the same one that's in Prey, is it?
No.
That's a whole different backstory.
Yeah. Okay, pulling it up.
But upon looking back, the skull armor that Prey one has kind of looks a little bit similar. It's like even like the long nostril look to it. I don't know.
Okay, here. Oh, go away.
But yeah, needless to say that John Clyde was opting out of all this, and they realized like, oh shit, our suit actor's gone, and the creature we got
Here it is.
just not gonna work out.
So here
So
is
of
that.
course Arnold comes in and says like, well, you should guys look up Stan Winston. He would definitely cook up a creature design for you.
So you can see how he took the bones of that. I actually had a chance to buy this figure and missed on it. It's back ordered, but yeah, he's got a fully primitive armor, and yeah, you can see how that design of the original creature was used as the suit for the Predator. Okay, so that
Very
was
nice.
okay. Anyway, so you're right. Stan Winston was brought in at the suggestion of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they even gave him a task to break. And they had a rough cut at the film because the head of the producers were changing, and they showed him that and says, "Okay, well, you got something here. We'll give you some more money to go ahead and finish it." And John McTiernan loved that break time, so he can like reshoot stuff and replan stuff and change the whole third act, all that kind of stuff. And that allowed Stan Winston time to help design a creature that is very indelible. Like all he had was some concept art, and one of them was of a Rastafarian warrior done by a comic artist, and he went with that as the jumping off point for what he ended up making for the Predator. And once again, I'm going to be bringing up our good friend Jimmy C yet again because I know Derica never tires of me telling this story that I keep telling. They're on a plane to Tokyo, I think doing touring for Aliens or something. James Cameron's like to stand seeing him do sketches, and he tells them, like, you know the quote.
Uh,
Yeah.
no, I don't think I've heard the story enough times to kind of quote verbatim.
No, but he tells
So,
them. He looks at them and goes, I've always wanted to see a monster with mandibles. That's what James told
oh
Stan.
yeah,
And
yeah,
Stan's all like,
the vagina tooth
yeah,
face thing.
Stan's like, oh yeah, so what? And he just starts actually sketching it to show him, and that ended up becoming the jumping off point for the revelation of the Predator. So the Predator was brought to life by 7'2" actor Kevin Peter Hall, big guy who just got famous off of doing Harry and the Hendersons. He's a mime artist too, so he knows how to control his body in such fluid motions. And the guy, everybody who knew him knew he was such a big, heart of a guy, big bear of a teddy bear of a man. They called him. And you see the behind the scenes footage, and the guy is like really like you're like, oh, like this. No wonder he played
Which is
a lovable Sasquatch.
which is which is really sad to know that he died in
1.
96,
91.
91. Damn, it's like 2 years before I was even born. That kind of blows.
Yeah, the circumstances of his death actually pissed me off. Is that he got into a car crash and he had a blood transfusion, but I think the needles or the blood was infected with HIV, and he contracted AIDS and died from that. So, very shame, big shame. But yeah, like I said though, he was big. He was able to make Arnold look tiny compared to him. So when you see like the Predator like pushing him against the wall and stuff, you buy
That
it.
ain't angle. That ain't angled acting. That's actually legit.
Yeah, Kevin Peter Hall was huge. But like I said though, he has the costume, and then, like according to Stan, of all the guys he's worked with, stuntmen and things like that, this guy would be in the suit for hours, perform all the time, and he would not hear one complaint about it whatsoever. He'd be like, okay, if he had to be glued into the suit and they tell him, okay, we're going to be doing a shot, and it might take 2 hours for him before he even gets used, uh, he'll be like waiting and okay, and he'll kind of be joking with the mask off and everything. Because they made it in pieces so he can at least breathe and stuff. He's not like in Godzilla where you're stuffed inside and you kind of wait till the crew to open the back so you could even breathe. So yeah, he was made into a the Predator was very tribal but also futuristic. It had like a metallic shoulder armor that had a cannon in it, mesh wire, that part of the cloaking. It had this weird tentacle-like hair almost. Like it was hair, but it almost seemed fleshy, like if it was like octopus. Um, and the mask was so blank and featureless, and that because originally they made a different mask. The mask actually looked more like the Celtic Predators. It kind of had the hint of the dread of the mandibles in the square section of the jaw, and they thought that kind of
Felt-
get.
they felt they like no. We gotta surprise the audience with this. They gotta be thrown the fuck off. They gotta have the same reaction as Arnold gives when he gives his iconic line.
Yeah. So the Predator, like I said though, and someone says it's humanoid shape, kind of like us, but it's not a man. It's got like reptilian skin and claws. It's got this future tech, but it's also barbaric because it's got like these gnarly blades in its wrist. It's it's very strong. The way it just Arnold like nothing, or rip out a spine from a cadaver. Like you start.
Yeah, it's also very agile. They can literally leap through tall trees like it's like nothing. It's like jump good.
So he's not like the Hulk just barreling through. He kind of has this grace almost, but at the same time he's like big and powerful. But and some people also say that now this is psychological shit speaking. He's also, even though it's very a threat to man, it's also slightly feminine too, with its figure, slim figure, and its hair. So that's like the fear of womanhood claiming the man or something like that. I don't know. I read something like that once. They say that that's why its mouth looks the way it does. Maybe that's evoking the fear of vagina dentata, the toothed maw. I don't know. But like I said, there's a lot of reasons why the Predator. It's both familiar but also strange, and that's why we like it. It's both. It's a contradiction. It's both futuristic but primal. It's barbaric but sophisticated. It's it's human but it's not. That all those contradictions make for a very interesting combination of elements, making him a tough son of a bitch.
You want another? You want another big contradiction?
Hmm.
He's very menacing. Yeah, he's voiced by a heroic robot from another planet.
Oh yes. Now, if you guys watch our last stream, y'all know my good friend Ian, aka Werewolf River, does a little talent where he's able to actually perfectly click the back of his throat to make the Predator click. So that is a human sound being used. In fact, when AVP happened, AVPR, they couldn't source the original sounds. They actually had one of the sound artist guys who knew how to do the clicking for that movie. And the clicks weren't just like little. They would like be clicks that do pleasure, clicks that do anger, alertness, and those clicks all came from Peter Cullen, who said he wasn't going to do no more monsters after King Kong. He like tore his vocal cords doing all the grunts and gries for the Kong '76 movie. But it's funny as he said that, okay, when he told the stories out, when they showed me this, all they showed me was like a little silver line and go, that's your character. I'm like, well, I can't get anything out of that. How was I supposed to know what he sounded like? Because I think he was just seeing the plasma caster effects and not his form. Because they hadn't finalized the design or they didn't show him what he was going to be. Like, okay. Then I saw this other thing that was all shimmery and I'm like, yeah, I still don't get a creature. And then one day they finally showed me a footage of it and it gets the mask off and I just see this ugly, ugly face with tentacles and pulsating and clicks and they made me think of the one time I saw a dying horseshoe crab on the ground, bubbling and popping, and he started doing the noises of how he saw die the horseshoe crab. So I started putting that into it, and he started making a little that little click, and people erupted in the audience. And also he made some of the vocalizations. So when Arnold actually talks to the Predator and asks him, "What the hell are you?" In a way, the Predator says the line back, almost like if the Predator is asking Arnold, "What the hell are you?" And that you can clearly hear is Peter Cullen's gravelly voice. You can kind of hear it. I'm going like, yep, that's Peter. So he was uncredited in his role as the Predator, but that was Optimus Prime playing the Predator.
But yeah, so let's still talk about the Predator. So it basically we'll be keeping track of like all the rules and methodology of the Predator, the Yacha, the Ishka, or whatever names they always keep changing it. We're just gonna call them the Predators. So basically, we point out like they prefer heated environments, both metaphorically with conflict and warfare, but also literally like the temperature because in Central America it's fucking hot.
And they joked about in the documentary that they did not have to do a lot of acting for how hot it was out there. But yeah.
See that they only target those that have like a violent streak, like a commando force, just laying waste to an entire brigade, hold up in an encampment, or at the very least are armed to tough. And they do not attack anyone that they basically don't attack civilians unless they are armed.
Yeah, because no sport, as Arnold put it.
Exactly, which is why Anna basically got away from it for the most part. They are mostly hid away by camouflage, their little invisibility trick, unless it's doused by water, in which case their technology just kind of fizzles out a little bit and their form is released. Which comes up at one point where it comes down to a small water part where Arnold landed after he had to escape, and it literally revealed himself to Arnold's complete shock and horror. of course, they're not invincible, despite the fact that they look like they're surviving from gunfire that completely wastes out in a huge speck of trees across this dense Central America jungle. It is not invulnerable. Like Anna even points out, like when you attacked it, it must have actually uh, struck them, which caused it to bleed. Which leads to Arnold pointing out, like, well, if it bleeds, then we could kill it.
So yes, they also keep the prizes of those that they find that they think are worthy of the hunt. It's like when you shoot a deer, you really spend a long time tracking. You love to hang that thing on your wall. I mean, I'm not a hunter myself, but, or maybe sports fishermen. When you catch a fish that's this big, you want to kind of brag about it. So I guess that's the bragging rights. I took out a guy who took out like 100 of his own kind in a single room, stuff like that. So it makes sense why the predator would find interest in someone like Batman, for example.
Yeah, which is so they mainly keep their skulls. Sometimes they'll get their spines too if they feel like they got a nice clean pull out of it. But for convenience sake, they're always they actually show us the scene where the predator is actually brushing off and cleaning up with aerosol spray of sorts of all the red, so it's like clean, like right down to the bone.
We get a much more elaborate cleaning sequence in the sequel, actually. But yeah, but if the prey went out like a bitch, like no challenge at all, they
Like we saw with poor Hawkins, they're basically just hung to dry.
and
And
then
skins mostly.
yeah, Hopper was the one they found skinned alive. And they said you could tell they were skinned alive because of the way their faces were like in deep agony as the flaying was happening. That's how you can tell. People say, I don't get what they say they were skinned alive. Well, they weren't peacefully killed before all that was like taken. And people have always wondered, what did the predators do with the skins? Did they make hats out of it? Did they make a leather suit, a leather chair out of it? Did they eat the skin? Did they just put it in a stew? Who knows? None of the media has ever said exactly what they do with the skins. They just know that they show off the skinless body to like scare the shit out of other prey. Maybe mess with them psychologically. On top of that, there's an ancient belief in some cultures that the body can ascend to only above if it's facing upright. So if you hang a body upside down, you're actually damning the soul to remain trapped or go to the under. That's the idea that it's considered dishonorable.
It so basically what you're saying is it probably learning about the superstitious, like, dude, check this out. I'm gonna totally fuck with this humanity by just playing to their religious superstitious beliefs.
Exactly. So maybe the predator's good with psychology, kind of. It knows how to use vocal mimicry to like draw prey to it. Like when it copied Max over here, turn around, because he said it earlier, and the predator heard that. So it knows how to use. And I think it knows our language enough to like use it against us.
And it turns out they can only see heat signatures, which it turns out it can actually be exploited. So they're like, for instance, they're able to see like a tripwire being set up, since I assume that the chemicals are inert. There'll still be some semblance of a reaction that sets it off.
Mm-hmm.
But if you set up a natural made, a Boy Scout kind of trap, it doesn't see it at all. In fact, it'll even give off. Josie pointed out, it hilariously gives off kind of this yelping, shrill scream, getting caught unawares.
Like
It's,
it didn't expect to
in that.
get caught. It just sort of like wow, wow, wow. It's like scream, like holy shit, what the fuck? It's probably doing all that in its own language. And I thought it's one of the few times you ever hear the predator in distress in this movie.
The biggest moment where it's exploited is when Arnold is literally doused in like this cold, soppy mud after he just jumped off of a waterfall, and the predator is like literally 2 feet in front of him, but he can't see shit.
Mm-hmm.
He just literally walks past him as if he's like, guess he's not here. Which
Yeah.
is when Arnold realizes like he can't see me because I'm not giving off heat.
So he goes into although I think some MythBuster type science did say you would have to use a lot of cool clay to even hide your signature that well. Which, by the way, the heat vision effects are some of the most iconic. Realistically, heat vision doesn't look like that. It's more of this blobby, vague shapes in the darkness. But by filming live action elements with a heat vision cam and putting them together, overlaying, you get this spooky, ethereal, like, well, the heat vision look from Predator. And also, there's the sound design. You hear like the Predator's heartbeat in addition to this little hum of the mask that just makes you like, it's very otherworldly, and the spooky visuals of the heat vision really help with that. And it's whereas like it's heat enough that you get the heat signature sense, but also it still has enough definition that you can tell what the Predator's looking at. You can kind of see skulls in the heat, like when he's like picking off Arnold's face, you can kind of see the bridge of his nose kind of form like the skull nose. It's like he's almost sizing up, like thinking, "Yeah, this is gonna look good on my wall."
This is gonna look pretty good.
So
And it turns out if they find it worthy enough foe, they will like shred themselves to their armor, their weapons, even go unmasked and fight mano a mano, which leads to the iconic moment of Arnold declaring, "One ugly motherfucker."
yes, and the thing is that it's almost like a ritual, and that's Kevin Peter Hall's great gestures working. And the Predator drops him. He starts walking in a ritualistic way, and he starts by pulling off his breathing tubes at first. Then he takes off the targeting gear from his shoulder cannon and drops that to the air. And it kind of makes like an organic squishy sound. It also makes you think that the cannon is part of his body, but he kind of removes it. And then my favorite gesture is when he uses all his fingers to like break off the bindings of the mask, releasing all the trapped atmosphere in it. And he covers his whole face, like with both hands in a way, and then he starts lifting the mask to reveal it. And the heat vision helps, the mask helps put away all the heat vision noise so you can only see your prey. So the Predator's deciding, basically it's like if you need glasses to see, the Predator decided, okay, he even took off his glasses to say, I'm going to even fight you even with my poor eyesight. It's kind of funny if you think about it that way.
And then the big thing that we learn in this movie is that in defeat they will set a self-destruct. Why? We don't know in this movie yet. It could be they making sure that none of its weapons or tech are left behind, or make sure they're not allowed to be caught, captured, made trophies of themselves. Who knows, really?
Yeah. Also, it could be considered either two things. Either it's honorable suicide, or it's pettiness. They're thinking, oh fuck, if I'm going down, you're going to hell with me.
Yes, it's basically like a big final test for their prey. It's like,
See if
okay, you got me. Now see if you can get away from the miniature nuke blast.
Mm-hmm. And it's such an iconic moment when the Predator shows off its face. Like I'm gonna have the thing muted, but I can still show off the footage here. Because that's what killed me, was having the audio play. So I'm just gonna get to the mask itself, because I gotta say, of all the creatures from the '80s that I've ever seen, this is what feels like a legit living being to me. I'm just gonna go ahead and pull up the display capture. You should be able to see my screen here. Here it comes. Yeah, so you can see right here. Yeah, there's the poor vision I mentioned, and then look at that. Look at that beautiful creature. I know it's supposed to be ugly, but it's got the amount of goopiness to it, if that makes any sense. Like it's got a slickness to it. You can see Kevin Peter Hall's eyes showing through, which make it look more lifelike and intelligent. You got those mandibles that Cameron was talking about. The dreads here, and let me just look at this creature. I mean, on my spare time when I'm not drawing Xanos and Godzilla, I'm trying to draw this motherfucker to look just like this. I feel none of the designs since this movie have captured that look well. The Predator came close. I know people might say find it sacrilege, but I think that came close to. But look at this thing, and the way his mouth is animated. Look at this. Look at this. It looks like a freaking living being. And also, just to play the sound because it's one of my most favorite sounds in movie monster history.
Not that
You
fate.
motherfucker.
Then again, you probably guessed it's one of my favorite sounds because any chance I do an advertisement for Predator, I always include that roar somehow. Okay, let me turn that off. Okay, yeah, but again, it's such a great design, and Kevin Peter Hall's performance shows. And here's the thing: he had to rehearse his thing maskless to get his marks, because once he puts that whole apparatus on, it's very hard to see. Yeah.
It's kind of funny though to bring up that comparison from earlier. It's funny the film played out like um. So remember that Dutch recalled the Dylan's quote about how their crew is seen as expendable. Crew expendable. And
Mm-hmm.
the fact that they literally spent so much of their ammo yet barely hit anything.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, maybe they got a few shots off. It made contact, but for the most part, all they hit was just a bunch of trees. It comes to mind thinking of the Colonial Marines when they get freaking ambushed by the Xenos, or when they set the hallway with their smart gun turrets.
Funny enough, the funny enough the trailer for Predator uses the opening track from Aliens as its thing when he goes, "Nothing on Earth has been seen like it before. We cannot see it." But then you hear like the whole little drum from Aliens that, and he goes, "Yeah." So it's funny that they're both owned by Fox. So
You can imagine that some execs or some uh comic writers who look at us and go like, "Hey, what if we were to put both these together?" I mean, like, sure, it'd be presumptuous to say that they're in continuity, but you don't know. The universe is pretty big, and we own both properties. We'll put a pin on that for the time being. But rest assured, the big payoff for it is uh, it pretty much like its own pop culture notion in its of itself.
yeah, it got its own spot in history because, like I said, and it's a miracle we even got this film to be the way it is because it could have been a disaster if they went with the old design or if they wanted to believe in it or if they didn't cast the right people.
So we gave so much kudos for him back in Jurassic Tourist, and it is needs to say otherwise that Stan Winston's work is pretty much what made the film, really.
I think he admitted he was right. This is one of the few creatures he's really proud of. Like that's the hard work of my creative crew. Everybody brought this together to make this one awesome creature that can kick Arnold's ass. Like that. That's something that he'll always be proud of. That everybody came together, all the creativity, the sculptors, the painters. Because thankfully Stan is a people's man, and he loves to say, "I'm just the guy that got everybody together. This is not, oh, this is my genius or ingenuity. This is our team, my team. We all got together and made this work." So he loves to give props to every one of his crew members who evolved. In fact, there's some guys who started in this film that went on to become big effects guys themselves, like Greg Berger, Screaming Mad George, who went on to do the Guyver movies, which had Predator-looking effects. And you got Shane Mann and John Rosenkratz and Gillis. Those guys ended up making their own studios, Legacy Effects Studios, ADI. So, yeah, this was a good first product because the guys who made the effects for Aliens versus Predator and Alien movies onward, Tom Woodruff Jr. and Alec Gillis did get their start doing props for, Predator and Aliens and all that stuff. And
So, so, so if he considers that his best work, I remember Pumpkinhead is when MSC had the most fun with.
oh yeah,
Because
Pumpkin.
I think that the Pumpkinhead was just mostly him just kind of like letting loose and just bringing his ultimate like monster ideas to even to the point where like he and his friends were like, oh, we should totally like evoke the King Kong testing the his dinosaur victory with the jaw, moving it
Yeah, like yeah, he loves. I don't think I think he considers the T Rex one of his biggest achievements. He considers the Alien Queen one of his big achievements. But the Predator is up there, and plus it's because of people like Kevin. Kevin being in the suit and giving not just making the suit emote, but also acting. Because even Kevin Peter said, without someone who knows what they're doing, all you got is just he did like a Frankenstein gesture. But no, he embodied like I am Predator, Master of the Universe, stuff like that. He let that speak through his motions, and I think Stan really loved. Like he says, "I'm Stan Winston. We make monsters and we make them well." That's what he said in his intro to the video and the documentary, and I'm going, "Damn straight you do." Again, I keep being reminded that he's long since passed due to his complications from skin cancer, and I still think. But I think I'm glad he was alive enough to see how people would come up to him and say, "You made my childhood. I love that you did the monsters in Monster Squad. I love that you did the Predator, the Alien Queen. Like all these guys, you helped. You brought my nightmares to life in a dreamlike fashion." So people, just industry people, fans. He's just the guy was a talent, and he knew talent, so he got talented people to work on his projects,
Exactly.
and you can see that in this
So,
too. Oh, talk about the Predator's facial acting. There's a great moment in the movie where Arnold tries to go for a trap of spikes, and he realizes the Predator's walking right for it, trying to go in for the kill. So he starts goading it to taunt him and say, "Kill me, I'm here." And the Predator does try to go, and there's a part where he notices the spike. So he starts looking up at it and has a look like a what the face. And he gives Arnold a look of like, "How stupid do you think I am?" Basically, like
no,
the
come here, kill me.
just
And
look.
he gets another look like, well, okay, if you say so.
Let me just
Let me get around here. Doop, 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 doop.
Yeah, I just love the Predator. And also, here's another concept that this movie cemented in Predators. Their hubris always is the downfall of them, because there's moments where Predators have the layup, they have it ready to go, they got the kill in their sight, but they kind of have to savor the moment. And those few precious
I
seconds.
guess, I guess to bring up, it's funny that we always like to bring up our recent videos. To bring up Christian Bale from Batman Begins, you never learn to mind your surroundings.
Yeah, and Predators always get like. He wasn't even killed by a trap meant to get him. That was just to be the deadfall to keep the spikes up. So, but yeah, so we have music done wonderfully by Alan Silvestri of Back to the Future fame. And he would go on to make the Avengers music.
Which you can kind of hear evoking sometimes, and sometimes you hear like the sweeping Back to the Future kind of vibes, but still sinister.
But done in a horror way. Yeah. On top of that, one genius thing Alan does to evoke the Predator and to give the sense of a primalness, there's these
The drums, the fucking drums.
repeating drums, which you probably heard at the beginning of this intro, and that just when I first saw this movie in Spanish when I went down to visit family in Mexico when I was probably yay high, and that stuck with me. That for some reason they kept playing these drums in the jungle. That gives you a sense of something spooky nearby, and they only ever played the drums, and the more closer the Predator is, the faster those drums go. And he's made some indelible themes using tribal noises and all stuff. In fact, I think he has a better score in 2, but this is a good framework for the themes that become the Predator themes. I mean, you got that famous piano, ba 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 bum, ba 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 bum, and everyone knows that that's Predator. And
Even when he does like you think, oh, they do like a taps type song. It's like, no, it's not taps, but Alex Silvestri kind of does the Predators style taps for Mac being memorializing Billy.
Blaine.
Or no, not Billy, Blaine.
Yeah, and I love it. And they play that song again for when Arnold escapes at the end. And like I said, the music just helps. And there's this great string motif that he does to like make the tension go off. And you hear it mostly during the scene when they're in the trap and they're waiting. It's like this little wee, like whining strings that keep getting tighter and tighter. And they're just waiting to see when's this thing going to come down. Of course, he has the big brassy bombastic horns when like the predator finally shows its face and stuff like that. So, again, Alan's score just top notch, top notch.
Although, if I were to ask you, if you want, if I ask, hey Jonesy, you want to play some music from Predator? You think, oh, just plays that one goddamn song that he likes to just play on loop
Uh,
every time he gets the chance.
the long tall Sally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Even when we did a little role play a long time ago in a group server chat, I ended it with the song from Predator playing Long Tall Sally. I
Oh
think
my god, that was
the long,
ages ago.
but I love the fact that you attribute. I bet you, if you're on the radio and you hear Long Tall Sally, Little Richard, you'd be like, Josie's probably dancing to this right now. Oh, it does
Yeah.
it does set up the movie pretty well. All right, I'll be back for just a moment. We keep going. I won't be long.
Okay. So, so yeah, we kind of pretty much covered a lot of the Predator. I'm trying to think of like what else to kind of bring up. I guess we could bring up the fact that, yeah, as Jonesy pointed out, if you were to just to switch to like the TV randomly and caught like Dutch's crew just kind of laying waste to the encampment guys, and it just basically feels like you just kind of watch a Commando or a Rambo movie, but then as you keep, if you were to jump and then channel back, you saw like this weird sci-fi camouflage alien just like show up out of nowhere. Like, wait, am I even watching the same movie? I just I only just starting to realize that just kind of like having a love for that type of trope where it's basically so we're basically having this one genre of film here we're playing, but then it's like completely party crashed out of nowhere by this completely separate genre. You kind of get it with movies like From Dusk to Dawn, where it's like basically like a crime thriller, like a really gritty, like on the run to con man, like trying to get to the other side, and then like midway through, it suddenly becomes a fucking balls to the wall vampire movie. And yet the guys, like, despite realizing like, oh shit, this entire genre just flipped its head itself, I'm still in the moment, I still gotta fight, so I may as well just get uh my head in the game and get to surviving this bullshit.
All right, back. But yeah, so I have a question for you. Why do you think Predator has still endured? We have a lot of action movies and monster flicks from the '80s and stuff that some have become cult classics. Some you hear about and go, "Oh yeah, that was one." Why do you think Predator is the one where you go, "Oh, that's one of the all-time greats"?
It's funny that you bring it up. You gone away for another one of your breaks. I decided to kind of fill a dead air, talk about it. Just only occurred to me to think back to where you said, like, if you were to just channel surf to, I'm sorry if I'm explaining this again to the audience, but I'm explaining it to you right now. That if you were to just channel surf, you just ran into, like, in the middle of watching Arnold and his buddies just shooting up the army guys at their base camp, you would think, oh, you're just watching an army movie. And then if you were to decide to channel flip back to commercials, but realize, oh, maybe I should check that movie again. And then out of nowhere, you see this fucking like camouflage alien just come out of the group, but you're still seeing the guys encounter. You're like, am I watching the same movie? And I just realized it's kind of like this knowing this growing trend, a trope of having this what I call the genre clash or the genre mash, I guess, where basically like, it's a movie that starts off where it's like one thing, but then something comes out of completely out of nowhere and changes face, but you're still it's still you're still kind of like in the middle of like seeing these characters have to go through it. Like as I was explaining, one example is like From Dusk to Dawn, where it's basically just kind of starts like a crime thriller movie where you see like these two brothers having to try to cross the state to get to
Mexico.
Mexico, and then right in the middle, it's like very serious to the point where like George Clooney has this freak out moment because his brother just like left a huge murder scene. You're only just getting flashes of the violent imagery that happened, and then in the middle, it just like dumps this fucking vampire horror flick on you. The characters like realize like, well, shit, like I'm in a completely different genre. And funny enough, it happened again just this year with Sinners, where you start the movie of brothers kind of like bringing up this historical like underground jive like musical band, and then suddenly knock it out their barn door. It's like, oh, vampires.
Yeah,
Well,
and
I gotta tell you, hit brother, I did not see this one coming.
on top of that, they mentioned Robert Rodriguez when he did a documentary for Predator. He did mention that Predator was one of the primary inspirations for how he did Dusk Till Dawn, starting as one movie, then telling you, "Hey, guess what? It's actually this movie." So that's Predator was influential in that regard. So you think the genre clash is what helped it remain so indelible? I mean, it's very quotable. It's actually very short. I loved that we were able to watch this on a breezy afternoon.
I feel like with it's not just the genre clash that helped Predator. It's also the fact that they pit Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was like this like the most recent movie at the time was Commando. You saw this like guy is just like one army man, just like on a revenge streak, like taking down all these guys just to get his little girl back. And now, okay, let's just give you that character again, but let's up the ante. Let's see him face something that he's not prepared for. Not even like this thing can dwarf Arnold Schwarzenegger. To say like, you would be surprised to find say like, oh yeah, there's a guy that's taller than Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's like, what? The beefcake giant from Conan Barbarian and Terminator? You're making it up. It's like, nope, there's this like huge fucking thing from another world.
On top of that, I think it helps that everybody it's campy, but it's also played dead serious straight because it starts off with funniness. You know, the guys are throwing quips or saying stuff, stick around, all that kind of stuff. Then the more of them get wasted, the more the pressure starts getting on them, and I think that people
Right to the point where Dutch says like we're not gonna run with our tails by our asses. We have to nip this in the bud. Because like they don't realize they don't know if like they're gonna bring this thing to like more conflict, more targets on their backs.
Like imagine if they did survive, but the predator decided to say, "Okay, I'll follow you to whatever combat ground you go." That would be very interesting. But no, like you said though, but the actors' personalities shine through, and you start liking them. But then they get picked off one by one in rather graphic ways. Like I said, I think it was also the high production standards really made it work too. Just the fact that the monster looked so good, that the effects of the and keep this in mind, all that visual trickery to make the predator invisible was all done pre CG. CG had not taken off at this point. So it had to be done chemically. So they had to do like a lot of exposure passes, blank template, red suit.
It's basically like old light trickery, which we pointed out earlier this year when they were doing Fantastic Four First Steps. It's like, no, this isn't CGI with Sue Storm's powers. We decided to kind of match the effects of the time, the '60s, how they bend light. Like, in film they would bend light like this to cause an effect that looks like that.
So they did that with the Predator, and it still looks. People will probably go, "Oh, that's CG." I'll tell you, this was made before computers were even powerful enough to process images like this. So that is still. I think that helps it hold up. People go, "Wow!" Like this movie was, and the budget, the fact that it was able to make so much from a budget. But of course, they made a joke about how it actually lost a lot of money for its time, but only in 15 years later did they say, "I think I finally got a check for Predator," so I think it broke even, as the producer joked. Like, but I don't know. Like I said, it stuck with people. The quotes are awesome. Like I said, stick around, knock knock. I ain't got time to bleed. All that stuff. Anytime. That it's just. I don't know. It just managed to stick around because, like I said, there's been a lot of muscle meathead movies since then, and some of you can go, "That was a thing," or "Oh yeah," but this one, I think it just hit at the right time, right place, and it just. I mean,
It was basically the '80s in a genie bottle, essentially.
that's a good way to describe it. Mm. I mean, obviously, it was a big smash hit enough for them to say, "Let's make a part two," but I know Now, why do you personally like Predator? You think?
Well, it's funny. I got introduced to the Alien Predator franchises, smack dab. I think in 2010 when they had the AVP video game for the
Mm-hmm.
Xbox 360, and that was kind of like my introduction to kind of both of them at the same time. And then I think they kind of released Alien DVDs and only the first Predator movie. I don't think you could find the Predator 2. I think that at the time Fox was kind of like, it's kind of like make sure we don't make people remember that. That was we had to kind of treat it as a black sheep considering they have AVP Requiem for God's sakes.
Although I think we'll get to that when we talk about it proper. I think Predator 2 is probably just as much as a classic as the first one. People might disagree, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah. So you found it through
But
that.
yeah, when I uh managed to play and gets understood how the Predator functions and works, it made me realize like, okay, so this is an. I feel like this is we really we to go back to discussing why people like Predators. Like this is probably like one of the first times where we see an alien invader entity that's not having like world conquest or coming in peace or anything. It's just basically it's basically a rich dentist going on safari,
Mm-hmm.
essentially.
Oh, Roland Tembo versus Predator would be worthy prey.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it just comes down here where it's not here to conquer. It wouldn't even know how to run a civilization to the ground or anything like that. It just it just wants a good fighting spirit. That's all it wants.
So that really appealed to you, you thought?
It definitely made it stand out for me against all the myriad of other ambience. Even the fact that xenomorphs, anyway, you could say that they would take down civilizations. It's not for uh, malicious intent. It's more well, that's just how evolution works, I guess.
Science. Yeah.
You're never gonna get away from that quote, are you?
No. But yeah, I liked it because for one, I saw this in a totally different language that I barely understood, but I kind of got into the vibe of these people. I recognized the Terminator. That's how I knew Arnold because he was the Terminator. I had seen T2, so and I'm watching all this, but the creature, that's what got my attention. I remember like I said, the first sight I saw of it was after it was invisible and ran away. Was when you see the blood on the stump and all of a sudden tree stump, and then you see this invisible handy cloak and you see this reptilian claw, and I'm going. I started getting really interested from that point onward, and I love
What
how
happened when you saw the big moment that Dylan saw, where it just kind of decloaked for a brief moment?
I was thinking I'm doubly interested now, and then when it took off its mask, I thought I love this creature. So now the Spanish line said, "Eres muy pantoso," which means you look really hideous. That's kind of the way I don't think they could say ugly motherfucker. And yeah, but I remember laughing hard
Yes,
hearing.
TV.
I remember hearing him laugh. I remember laughing hearing him say that in Spanish. I knew he said something because the monster got mad because it roared back at him and the favorite noise. And then I remember when he
Good
asked
idea.
when he asked him, he goes, you know, what the hell are you? He goes, ¿Qué diablos tú? And then the Predator, ¿Qué diablo eres tú? Like, what the hell are you? Yeah. So I mean that indulged it to me. So when I finally got to see the movie, I got to see Predator 2 years later in English, and that actually scared me more than the first one. I was actually afraid to see the Predator after Predator 2, which we'll get to that when I talk about it in full. But then when I got old enough to buy Predator 1 again and see it again, I thought like this is one of my all time favorite movies. I blame AVP for that because um, my brother played an arcade game of Alien versus Predator, and the Predator was on the marquee. You see this, I recognize the alien bug from my Alien comics and toys, but then I see this other thing with the mandible face. And I thought this thing's cool, and he's playing the game. And one thing I remember is when he lost all his quarters, the Predator was tapping something, and I saw a countdown like going
Welcome
up.
back, Ian, but we're kind of wrapping up a little bit. You just came back.
Oh, welcome back, Ian. But we're just going over stuff. I'm talking about why I like Predator, the first movie, so well. And I remember that I got through osmosis through its other stuff, its figures, the comics, but then getting to actually watch it again and then with a much more. I think I watched it in full before AVP came out, and I really like this movie. and I still watch it from time to time, and it's a breeze to watch. It's so short to watch, but it doesn't drag. There's moments of quiet and calmness, but it doesn't feel like get on with it. It it just works, and
I feel like Predator 2 gets a little bit of that. That's probably why people like look down on it for a few years.
mm, and I'm sure they said the same thing about Prey, but I know the one that you're get on with it is AVPR. We're like, okay, we love this Dawson's Creek bullshit, but when's the Alien and Predator gonna like get back on screen?
But no, to be fair, my reaction is like, I can't see a goddamn thing of this thing.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, I think the reason it just the monster design works, the
That's
chemistry of
like
the
this
crew,
joint.
the chemistry of
I
the
like Predator 2 more than 1, mostly because I believe the Riff of Fantasy Murdoch fight the Predator in the city.
hmm But again,
I think Ian agrees with you.
but I think it's the chemistry of the crew is so cool. Like, you imagine if you and your mates, your boys were in the woods, you probably feel the same way these guys do. We could take on the world, and then when they start getting taken out one by one, and like I said, it does become more of a horror film. It's because especially I know that the more it goes on, the more
There's,
graphic the kills are.
there's always a lot of debate of like if people say like, should we even count Predator as like a horror movie? I mean, given the fact that Stan Winston made a fucking unbelievable monster effect,
Well, I think
or the fact that you see so much blood and viscera at the poor guys that you just go, oh,
what yeah,
it's
one kill
it operates pretty much like a slasher villain,
yeah
pretty
one kill
much.
that stuck out to me as a kid. That I took me a while to realize what was going on. Was when I thought that Blaine Dylan got shot through, and then I see why are they focusing on his arm? And I realized I saw the stuff and realized, oh my god, it shot off his arm, and it was still on trigger mode, so it was still shooting the machine gun, even though his below the shoulder, his arm got blasted off.
Which
And
is funny if you rewatch the movie, you realize they, I think the finger is kind of flying off the trigger at points, but still going as if it's still being squeezed. But
you,
okay,
you gotta admit though, that is a, and yeah, and the thing is, he's a tough guy, so to hear him just scream like that, and it's not like a bitchy scream either. This is like a damn, I really hurt, like getting a tattoo scream. And then you gotta admit, he still tried to pull up a fight. Like when the predator was running at him, he still tried to get the other machine gun to try to go for it before getting the blades to the chest. But yeah, you got like I
if
said,
he had just got if that should have just been there and helped cauterize his wounds, he would probably gotten the uh freaking Jax treatment from Mortal Kombat.
oh, but you love the fact that Dylan's look with the cap and the vest was a bonus costume for Jax in Mortal Kombat X.
When you get the Predator as a fighter, yeah, they do that again when Arnold's Terminator gets in Mortal Kombat 11, and Sonya Blade gets the Sarah Connor look.
Although it's funny when they still reference the Predator with the Terminator when Baraka said, "What did you say, Donny Cage called me again? An ugly mother." And yeah, the whole thing, yeah. So
It's funny because Alien and Predator were always in the sci-fi section of every video store, so for years I never thought of either film as horror. But to be fair, even I found these documentary guys, creator VC that do like In Search of Darkness, 80s horror. Now they're doing 90s horror. They're gonna run a campaign in a few days for the later half of the 90s. But they never once had Alien or Predator mentioned in their 80s horror documentary. They were reserved for the sci-fi section, and it makes sense because the atmosphere of Alien, while there are like horror, scary, and boo elements to it, it was really Aliens literally was like the groundwork for like a lot of sci-fi to the point where one of the most iconic, well, actually, if you really think about it, two iconic sci-fis were born from the Alien franchise. There's Metroid with Samus Aran fighting against like this alien species and such, and then of course the biggest FPS shooter, Halo,
and we
really eked from James Cameron's Aliens.
now funny we mentioned video games being inspired because Predator itself seemed to influence a game series too.
I pointed out too. we feel like Predator might have influenced a little game series called Contra.
Well, even the dude on the cover kind of resembles Arnold's pose from that movie. But I think Contra's a better Predator game than the Predator game with big mode and scorpions and stuff.
The fact that Contra also involves them shooting up alien beings, but it's still like these gung ho action guys. It's definitely like you step back and go, huh? If you actually reskin the pixels a little bit, it could actually be an actual legit badass Predator game, more than the official Predator game.
Dead guy in chair. Why you gotta look so dead? That's the Car Warriors, but still, I love that when the joke was that the one guy looks like Rambo, the other guy looks like Commando. Like, if that guy's John Rambo, who's the other guy? John, no, who's if that's John Matrix, who's the other guy? If that's Commando, who's the other guy? Rambo, and that would be a freaking awesome movie. John Rambo and John Matrix together, like, damn, actually would be tight. But
Contra is Alien, Predator, Turbo, Terminator, Rambo thrown into a blender. Ian says
that's true. Well, there is a space jockey and face huggers that are legit. They're face huggers from Alien in the Contra game. So yeah. So yeah, the Predator did have an influence on things. I mean,
but basically we say while they might have horror elements of it, they basically have a little bit more pillar standpoint in the sci-fi genre.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that also made me think of. It's very funny how every now and then the Predator will just make some random appearance. Like one that I will never ever like. Why did that even happen? Was a South Park episode where Butters was like wandering off, and he mentions at one point, "I don't think I'm alone," and before commercial break, out of nowhere, the whole screen turns into a heat vision mode. And I laughed with my sister going, was that a Predator reference?
Oh, I was just gonna say like there's straight up a Rick and Morty episode where they basically have the Predators and they literally name it the Predator. They don't do like the
Scary
Terry like offshoot thing. It's like no, these are the fucking Predators. You're from the movie Predator. And I forget I think it was involving like girlfriend troubles or something. I think the Predator was dating someone. It's still funny to see Rick Sanchez having to go deal with Predators as if like it's another inconvenience for him.
Yeah, but Butters was lost in the woods, and then and I'm looking at the clip right now, and then out of nowhere, it just heat it just heat visions right there. Yeah.
Favorite Predator reference to the cartoon. I think we kind of like already brought it up, Ian.
But yeah, it's one of the few ones that I remember that being a thing for Predator. Oh, and like I said, Duck Dodgers episode where Marvin the Martian fights a not Predator. Yeah, like I said though, we like the look, and again, I think it's like a warrior race like Klingons and Krogan, where we like the idea of these reptilian barbarians that found a way to like.
My fucking god, I would pay so much to see Predators fighting the Klingons. Like, I feel like
That'd be a comic. You know, that would be a great comic.
Wait. Another alien species, the Sontarans for the Doctor Who. They're another like proud alien warrior race that always wants to like fight their enemies head on. I would want to see a Sontaran fight a freaking Predator.
Okay, now because you
like,
know,
go mano a mano.
and you know the most recent thing I saw might actually be a worthy quarry for the Predators if they were landed on the planet of Pandora. I think any creature in Pandora would be like open season for them. I think they might get their asses handed to them on some creatures, but
Not just the Navi, the whole flora fauna of like Pandora.
The Thanator, the Leonetrix.
It's just like the fucking. We literally reached Nirvana, my people.
Although, okay, as Phil and Tech Support will tell you, do not send these guys to the Absolute Universe. Because the whole Absolute Batman.
Fucking dark side.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, but yeah, like I said though, we're gonna get. This is just the start of our hunting party tales. But as you can probably guess, we recognize Predator is an instant classic. What's more to be said? I mean, everyone agrees, and their mom agrees. I have yet to see people that say no, that ever like trashed this film. I think the most I can say is that it turns into schlocky horror by the end, but that's the most you can say about it. So I think the worst thing you can say about it is that it turns into a slasher movie. I think you still got a pretty good movie there.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So basically, we'll be coming up to LA for the Lions and Tigers and Bears. Oh my! For we tackle what happens if the predators fight in a different type of jungle.
The concrete
The
jungle.
concrete. No, not the video game, but I'm sure Jonesy will bring that up when we talk about it. But yeah, it's Predator 2.
Yeah, which I think is the underrated child of the entire franchise. Well, actually, second underrated. I think what I think is the people either talk about it or don't talk about it. But we'll get to that when we get to that.
Predators.
Yep. You know me too well. I mean, how many years have we been doing this?
I agree with you completely. I feel like people need to love the Predators more, especially since that was like the first thing to help come like detox after the absolute alcohol shit show that was APR.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, I know you love that movie, but you have to admit, like, it really, really left a big headache for both franchises with that.
Although I think of the two, I think the Predator came out better between the two because the wolf mask and the wolf design is still being used by fans and rip-off bootleg posters. So I think there's some good that came out of it. But the problem is that the mediocreness just brings it down to a void. So that's why. But
It worked out. It's like its own movie, but then you had to put the title Alien versus Predator on the movie. That's where the expectations like make it nosedive.
yeah, I mean, it's funny they called it Requiem just so they can say ABPR. That's the only reason because we're rated R.
Oh, for the rated R version, it's like, oh yeah, and how that. Funny enough, we learned years later when like, okay, we're gonna bring back like R ratings to the Die Hard franchise, and oh god, that was embarrassing.
Live free or
Surprised
die.
Bruce Willis
Oh no,
didn't.
no, no, it
I'm
wasn't live
surprised
free.
Bruce Willis. I'm surprised Bruce Willis didn't like retire from acting after that one.
A Good Day to Die Hard, I believe, which also had Jai Courtney, who was from Terminator Genesis. Captain Boomerang is one of his few well liked roles from people, I think.
Mhm.
Uh, anyway,
Yeah, we're gonna ramble, but that's our namesake, I guess. Anyways, yeah, hope to see you again soon. Yeah, this is our countdown to Badlands.
uh-huh. Yeah. Matt Draper has a funny talk when talking about that. It's cut R because it's rated R. Get it? But
Get it!
yeah. No way. Like I said though, you saw our trailer. You saw our intro. We know we're gonna go. No, we're gonna go deep in the mud with this one. So Predator 2, I think it has a lot more meat because that's the one that adds a lot more lore to the universe. Predator got the ball rolling, but it was Predator 2 that set up the ground rules, the honor code, what they look like, all of it.
Open open the continuity a little bit wider, but we'll get to it when we get to it.
So, this is Jonesy Cat 789, aka Chris, signing off along with my usual co-host, Derica, aka Dark Neon.
Oh, don't worry, I'm not gonna set this up to Shark. We still got a whole month to work out.
Oh. Oh yeah. Oh, but one more note for
uh,
Swag. My issue with
Okay.
AVPR is it feels like a 2000s teen horror schlock with Final Destination vibes. Well,
Thank you!
well, I told you, it felt like these were the extras for like Joyride or another like knockoff Scream knockoff CW show
That,
type people.
that movie is basically the antithesis of the genre mash. It's like, oh yeah, let's put like fucking cheap ass Dawson's Creek and put them against two iconic monster movies entities.
So we're talking more
Like,
about
dude, dude, it worked out for Freddy vs. Jason because they
That's
were
their-
made for
that's their
the
element.
sense of aesthetic. That's their element, not these sci-fi juggernauts.
Anyway, we'll talk about that eventually again. We did a whole video about that. You can watch that. But anyway, this is Johnny Cat Sam and Anna Chris, and remember, get to the chopper. All right, catch y'all later.